Thank you. Good evening. Let's call to order the city selection meeting of January 30th at 5:32 p.m. May we have the roll call?
Thank you. I'll call out cities, and if you could please respond with your name. City of Campbell. Anyone representing? Cupertino?
Kitty Moore, Vice Mayor.
Thank you. Gilroy?
Greg Horsford, Mayor.
Thank you. Los Altos?
Pete Daly, Mayor.
Thank you. Los Altos Hills?
Not present.
Los Gatos?
Matthew Hughes, Mayor.
Thank you. Milpitas?
Montano, Mayor.
Thank you. Monte Sereno? Absent. Morgan Hill?
Mark Turner, Mayor.
Thank you. Mountain View?
Here, Ellen May, Mayor.
Thank you. Palo Alto?
Ed Lowing, Mayor.
Thank you. San Jose?
There's you.
San Jose? That's Campbell. San Jose absent. I'll note that Campbell has joined us. Can you state your name for the record?
Sergio Lopez.
Thanks so much. Santa Clara?
Lisa Gilmore, Mayor.
Thank you. Saratoga?
Tito Alia, Council Member designated by the Mayor.
Thank you. Sunnyvale?
Larry Klein, Mayor.
Thank you. You have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Thank you all for being here. We have a busy evening tonight, so we'll try to get through all the appointments if possible. First up is oral communications from the public on non-agendized items. Is there anyone in the room wishing to speak on something that's not on our agenda? Thank you. Is there any member of the public remote wishing to speak? Thank you. We'll move on to our general business consent agenda, approving the minutes from the city selection committee meeting of February 8th, 2024. So almost a year since we met last. Are there any questions from any of the mayors about our minutes? Or any of the reps from our minutes? No? Is there any member of the public who can speak on this?
No.
Vote. Any open public comment? Anyone in the room wishing to speak on our minutes? Seeing none, I'll close public comment and look for a motion.
Move to approve.
Thank you.
Second, Santa Clara.
Thank you.
Sorry, the seconder was Santa Clara, but the mover was.
Morgan Hill.
Yeah.
May we have the vote? And just to let everyone know, we'll be doing randomized voice votes for all of our votes tonight.
I'll start randomizing after the
Yes.
non-contentious minutes.
Yeah.
Campbell,
Hi.
Cupertino, Gilroy,
Yes.
Los Altos,
Yes.
Los Gatos,
Aye.
Milpitas,
Yes. All right.
thank you, Morgan Hill,
Yes.
Mountain View,
Yes.
Palo Alto,
You want us to vote even though we're here?
You can abstain if you want.
Yes,
It's up to you. Okay.
Santa Clara,
Yes.
Saratoga,
Yes.
Sunnyvale.
Yes.
Thank you, that passes.
Thank you. Next up is selection of the chair for this year, basically. So what we normally do, and just to let people know, the chair and the vice chair need to be actual mayors from your cities, according to state law. So as we're normally doing this, I've been doing selection committee since we found out that this was the case about a year and a half ago or so. I've been basically chair of the selection committee since then for the Cities Association. I will take nominations from the floor. We'll go through and what kind of setting up the process tonight. People can speak and then we'll go through and take public comment and then do a final vote. So nominations from the floor. I'm happy to continue being chair of this committee and moving forward. Are there any other nominations?
I nominate Larry Klein.
I second. Santa Clara.
It's true.
Vote quick.
So I won't, thank you for the nominations. We'll go ahead and any public comment, any comment from the board? No? Open up public comment, any comment from our members in attendance? No? Any members of the public wishing to speak?
No.
Thank you. I'll close public comment. Because there's only one nomination, we can do this by by voice. Those in favor? Those opposed? Those abstaining? Thank you.
Just to confirm, that was a motion by Morgan Hill, second by Santa Clara.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thanks to our county representative to run this meeting.
Thank you.
Next up is selection of vice chair, very similar. So are there any nominations for vice chair?
Who is the vice chair this year?
The vice chair for last year was it Mark? No. Was it
Oh, it was from Montessorino, Brian McIntyre.
Brian McIntyre, who is no longer mayor. And so any of the mayors in the room interested in taking vice chair, and keep in mind, we normally only have one meeting a year, so past this point, it's not a big ask, but hoping that if we do call another city selection meeting, which we might have to, because there's at least one position that will be finishing in June that we'll need to do.
Okay. I nominate Archer.
Thank you.
Second, Sandra.
Thank you. Are there any other nominations?
Yeah.
Very good. Are there any comments? We'll open up the public comment. Any public comment in the room?
Was that Gilmore's?
Any remote public comments?
None.
Thank you. I'll close public comment and do a voice vote. All those in favor? Those opposed? Those abstaining? Thank you very much. Okay, next up is consideration of proposed rule and regulation changes for the city selection committee, discussion and possible action. Okay.
The city selection committee is an organization that is governed by state law. And as it turns out, that same state law requires this committee to adopt rules and regulations for the conduct of its meetings. And state law has 4 requirements. And so what you either got by email or you're getting now is a draft of proposed rules that contain those 4 requirements and also mirror what this committee has done in the past. And so one of the key things is setting forth what the term of the chair and vice chair is. And the time and place of the committee's regular meetings, and the rules are drafted so that the city selection committee could meet whenever the city's association regularly meets, to give you some flexibility. And we also need to set forth a procedure for nominating and selecting your representatives that you're going to appoint today. And that is done either by submitting letters of interest ahead of the meeting or nominations from the floor. So also very flexible. And it's my understanding that the vote has always been conducted by a roll call vote, and that it is rather complicated to do written ballots. So for that reason, it's been drafted to provide for a roll call vote. And as the mayor pointed out, a randomized roll call vote. So we tried to keep the rules the bare minimum, so they wouldn't be overly complicated, and that they would, as I mentioned before, reflect what actually transpires at these meetings. And this is my first attendance at a city selection committee, so hopefully we've captured it all.
Correct. And what this really is doing is just codifying what our standard practice was. We didn't actually have, say, rules. We had kind of the way this meeting had always been run up to this point. Jenny was good enough to look at what other similar organizations did, put this down from a rule standpoint, bylaw standpoint, so that at least we have a standard process. This was emailed to you late this afternoon. There was an issue with the distribution, but in general, this is the process that we have done for many years, just to let people know. I know that's, sorry to give it to you last minute. Are there any questions? Are there any members? I'll open up public comment. Are there any members of the public wishing to speak on our new rules? Charlie, did you have a question?
No, sorry.
Okay,
Actually, I do have a question.
sure. Well, let me close public comment. Any remote public comment?
No.
Okay.
So, I know there was a deadline to submit, letter of recommendation. If you were late, Can that still be included or not?
So it's what,
I'm so sorry.
Say.
Wait a minute.
No.
I printed 15 copies of your letter, Mayor, so we can pass them around.
it's always been, so part of the rules is there's always nominations from the floor. We do have to have a cutoff from a distribution of the agenda packet. But what Shelley does is print, if there's letters received the day of, up until a certain point that she can print, making those available. So those have been printed out.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? Is there a motion to approve the rules and regulations for the city selection committee?
So moved.
Second,
Thank you.
Sorry, if you could state your names with your motions and seconds, that would help
The
you.
city,
Yeah,
immensely.
Morgan Hill. Motion to approve.
Thank you.
seconded by, Milpitas, Montano.
Thanks very much.
thank you. We'll do this by voice vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Those abstaining? Thank you. Okay, now for the fun thing. Oh, sorry. So now we'll go through our appointments. So just to let everybody know, from a process standpoint, what we do is we go through seat by seat of the different organizations. What we do is we have certain nomination letters that were received as part of the packet or printed for you to review tonight. Ultimately, whoever, if they're in the room, they're allowed to speak. If there's a representative to speak for that nominee, then they're allowed to speak, and we're going to take a risk and say 2-minute speeches for those nominees. We'll then close, so we'll hear from each of the nominees if they wish to speak. For those nominees speaking tonight, you do not need to use the full 2 minutes. After we hear from the nominees, we then open up public comment, which will be 30-second public comment. We'll close public comment. We'll bring it back to the board for any final advocacy. And actually one other thing, if after the nominees speak, you have specific questions, if you can keep them short, we can undertake that, but keep in mind that we have a lot of different positions to get through tonight. And then we'll do voice votes on a seat by seat basis. Whoever gets the most votes, and some of these, there's 2 seats. And so whoever gets the most votes, depending upon how many people we have applying, it's a quick process, or some of these we only have 1 person. So we'll go through, you'll get used to the process as we go through this. So first up is BACMED, or I should say BAD, formerly known as BACMED. So it's City Selection Committee. We have 2 seats, seat 1 and seat 2, for a 2-year term. We have 3 people that are interested. Before we invite any of those people to speak or their reps, are there any other nominations from the floor? I'll kind of open it up to anyone in the room that's interested in the BACMED BOD positions. No additional. Okay. And I will have a timer here so that we're completely fair with everyone. First up, and so in the order of interest, Larry Lang, Sergio Lopez, and then Vicky Beater. Is Larry here? Okay. And no rep to speak for him. Next up is Sergio.
I'll come up here and I'll try not to use the 2 minutes.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, everyone. This board has always been near and dear to my heart. I'm going now for my 3rd term. I originally took over for Rich Constantine after he was no longer on the year district. So I've limited my other committee assignments to focus on this one and BTA, which is my other major one. We're really focusing on those. And I've always prioritized going to the meetings in San Francisco, which is not an easy commute for some of us, but really focusing on those in-person relationships and focusing on attending all the board and committee meetings. This is a topic that for folks in my generation and the diverse communities that we all represent, The climate, public health challenges are existential issues. And I really believe that if we want people who are gonna stand up for good government, democracy in our institutions, we have to show that we can take this challenge on. So I've been proud to be a voice for Santa Clara County and lift up a lot of the work that a lot of you are doing in your cities like Sunnyvale and Palo Alto really are leaders, and just making sure that Santa Clara County has a stronger voice, because San Francisco and Oakland get a lot of the attention, but we're actually number 2 in terms of highest pollution impacts. And so that's something that not a lot of people realize. I'm always trying to make sure we get our fair share of grant dollars. But I've been involved in leadership, like the hiring of our new executive officer, who's been wildly successful. He's really turned around the organization. And I was the only Santa Clara County rep to be involved in that. We're having, like a lot of other boards right now, a lot of turnover, with a lot of longtime board members leaving. And at this point, I'll be, I think, the 7th or 8th most senior member on the board. And so I really believe in that institutional memory to keep that strong. But I'm always here as a resource for all of you in your cities. I'm always happy to come out and bring staff and do tours or town halls. So really want to be accessible and just keep that open door. But thank you so much for considering me.
Thank you. Vicky?
Where are you on?
Up here is probably best, but just so we, or behind the podium.
It's a little John.
Thank you. So my name is Vicki Vinker. I am the Vice Mayor of Palo Alto. And first off, I want to thank this body for appointing me 2 years ago to what we then called BACMD and now BOD. We went from like the worst acronym ever to a bad acronym, literally. No, it's been a tremendous 2 years. I've served on a variety of committees there. I've chaired the Policy Grants and Technology Committee alongside Sergio, my vice chair. And we've done a lot of impactful things. One of the first things we did was to pass the first in the nation appliance rules that will phase out gas water heaters and then gas furnaces. We also were in a couple of lawsuits with oil companies and got phenomenal settlements where not only did they admit the validity of our rules, they agreed to adopt the technology we wanted, and they gave us money. If I was on the Chevron board and I picked a fight and ended up paying for that, I don't think I'd be too pleased. But as a director of the Air District, I'm quite pleased. I've just been selected as the incoming vice chair, and so I care deeply about the strategic plan that we just adopted at the Air District, and would like to stay in the seat to have the opportunity to implement it. We just had our retreat yesterday, spent many hours now, and during which time we talked about a just transition. There's oil companies that are being shut down up there, and we need to find a way for workers to be transitioned into other jobs, and the communities to also transition the spaces that are left behind. And so we'll be working on that. We have a variety of other things in our strategic plan, but I want to keep it to the 2 minutes. So I will leave it to any questions to flesh that out. But it's been my privilege to serve, and I would respectfully request the opportunity to continue to do so. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions for either of the applicants? Okay, thank you. With that, we will open public hearing. Anyone in the room wishing to advocate? Anyone remote?
Nope.
Thank you. Is there any final advocacy for either of these people, any of these three? We do have 3 applicants. Okay. What we'll be doing is, we'll be calling out the different city names. Please list the last name or first name of the person that you are voting as seat 1, and then we'll do the same thing for seat 2. So Lang, Lopez, or Vinker. That make sense? Okay. Can you please conduct the vote?
We don't.
Why not do 2 names, Larry?
Huh?
Why not do 2 names?
We need we could. We do need a majority.
My concern on this one, if I might, is just that if we vote for one candidate for seat 1 and then somebody else votes for that same candidate for seat 2, you're gonna have to tally up the number of votes for that person for seat 1 and for seat 2. So
Yeah.
Okay,
We'll do range.
okay. Sorry.
Okay,
So, yeah, it's fine. Either works. It's just if it was a tie, then it would have been immediate, no problem. But I understand, that's fine. Okay, we're all good.
So I'll just ask for a little bit of patience to put that together. Los Altos,
Sergio and Vicky.
okay, Monte Sereno was absent, San Jose
Sergio and Vicky.
in Sunnyvale,
Sergio and Vicky,
Saratoga,
Sergio and Vicky.
Los Gatos,
Sergio and Vicky.
Cupertino,
Sergio and Vicky.
Palo Alto.
Vicky and Sergio.
All right. Milpitas,
Sergio and Vicky.
Los Altos Hills is absent, Gilroy,
Sergio and Vicky.
Santa Clara,
Sergio and Vicky.
Mountain View,
Vicky and Sergio.
Campbell,
Banker and Lopez.
all right, you guys. Morgan Hill,
Sergio and Vicky.
that is a unanimous vote for
Great.
Sergio Lopez and Vicky Baker.
Thank you. Congratulations to you both.
Are we designating which one's which?
I don't think it matters because the terms are the same, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so no, it does not matter. Next up is Santa Clara County Emergency Operations Area Council. We have 3 seats, seat 5, seat 6, seat 7, and alternates for each of those. Are there any nominations from the floor? And what we'll be doing is inviting all the 5 people to come up and speak. If everybody's ready.
Oh, all right, I'll nominate Carmen for, what is it, it's on Emergency Operational Committee?
For seat
Or alternate.
6.
Which one? See, 6.
Okay. So we have 2 for each.
Are you taking all the motions at once?
I'll do all the motions at the very end of everybody that's been appointed.
So you'll take a nominate, I'll nominate Pete Daly for seat 7.
Oh, so we're allowing them to speak, and then
Okay.
we'll go through and do yet another voice vote.
Okay.
Basically for the primary, and assuming that whoever doesn't get primary, since we have 2 and 2 and 2,
Great.
becomes the alternate. So, I will invite Dan Furtado. No, here, Tina Walia.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. So, dear mayors, thank you so much for considering me. This is for seat 5 for the Santa Clara County Emergency Operations Area Council. As you all know, public safety is our core responsibility as elected officials. And our ultimate goal is always to ensure that communities are prepared for any emergency and can respond effectively when needed. Seat 5 represents South County and the West Valley cities. I want you to think about that for a second. South County is Gilroy and Morgan Hill. West Valley cities are Campbell, Cupertino, Los Gatos, Saratoga, Monte Sereno. Nearly all of these areas, plus the town of Los Altos Hills, face unique challenges, particularly in terms of wildfire risk. In Saratoga, for example, half of my city lies in the wildland urban interface area. And when you add in landslide risks and infrastructure challenges in the hillside areas, it compounds our vulnerabilities. Basically, what I'm saying is immediately after the Southern California fires, I took swift action to have an item agendized, and our residents are deeply concerned. We have to work together for improved preparedness and work in interagency planning and collaboration. And for that matter, I would say I would like to commend San Jose Mayor Matt Mahan for bringing all the mayors together to address these challenges at a regional level. When you look at the state and county maps, the Western foothills require strong representation and focused attention. If we have a fire in my hillside.
Time is up.
Is it?
Yes,
Okay, I'm sorry. Sorry about that.
thank you. Okay. Next up. Murali Srinivasan. Murali's still here. Murali is no longer here. Carmen. Murali's online now. Okay. Carmen, go ahead.
I'm not. Hello, everyone. Carmen Montano, City of Milpitas. I humbly ask you to appoint me as the primary representative for Emergency Operations Commission. And the reason being, I've been an alternate, and I know that Kathy Watanabe served for Santa Clara, the city of Santa Clara, and she can attest to that. Diligently attended every meeting, and when she wasn't there, I took her place. But I really feel that's really important for someone, for people to attend, because there's some people that, you know, they put their name on there, but they don't attend. And I am really committed to attending those meetings as I have. I also served on the CERT, it stands for Community Emergency Response Team. I'm certified. I've been on that for like, I think 8 years now. And we give ideas to our city about having equipment ready, you know, be right there when people need us. We're right there to serve the community. Also, I put a lot of input, ideas. I put a lot of ideas on the committee. And sometimes when our chairperson, Dick Santos, you know, he calls on me and he says, what do you think for the, what ideas do you have for the city of Milpitas? And I give some ideas there. So I really feel that climate change has really affected a lot of our cities. And I know that for District 6, it's Palo Alto, Mountain View, and Sunnyvale. But we all share the same fears, the earthquakes, flooding, fires, and I feel that I could represent all of the region, all the county. So I humbly ask for your support. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next up is Chris Clark.
Hi, everyone, I'm on Zoom due to being at a conference. But for those of you who don't know me, I previously served 8 years on the Mountain View City Council, took a 4-year hiatus and just rejoined. During my prior tour, I was involved in quite a bit of emergency planning, mostly via SVRA, which handles the communications aspects. And I was on it during the build phase. For the area council, my interest here in serving the North counties for this seat is one, to represent us in some of the planning that will occur for some major events over the next few years, both the Super Bowl and the World Cup, which will impact North County cities, especially Mountain View, being one of the primary transit points and the emergency planning associated with that. And then longer term, we have liquefaction zones in that area, as a number of cities do. So I think there are some synergies between my current seat in SVRA as well as the area council. And I'd be honored to serve the North Counties on through seat 7. If there are 2 of us who applied for seat 7, if for some reason I don't get the votes to be the primary, I'm also very willing to be the alternate. So thank you all.
Thank you. Next up is Pete Daly.
Everybody, I'm Pete. Who here, raise your hand, has been involved in interagency management of a natural disaster, like a fire or an earthquake? Not very many. I have. It's not clear in my letter of interest, but I will paint a picture for you. I was the chair of a foundation that's a national park partner, and when Lassen Park was on fire, we evacuated park headquarters. We set up a command center in a commercial building owned by one of our board members, and I was there in the interagency meetings every week. And what I can tell you is we need people who will put their oath before their career when things are on fire, or when the earth is moving, hills are sliding, or water is flowing into our communities. And that isn't common, right? You have to understand the organizational culture. When it comes to fire, the culture of different organizations is very different. The red hats and the green hats don't necessarily get along. The green hats being the national guys, the red hats being CAL FIRE. CAL FIRE says we go direct, we like to actually fight the fire, and they accuse the green hats of just wanting to build a big box around the fire. Well, that reflects those organizations' cultures. And if you're not willing to break some eggs to make an omelet, people are gonna die, homes are gonna burn, or get washed away in a flood. And I've been involved in those situations. I've seen the best public servants can do in those situations, and I've seen the worst. And this is the only position that I am seeking tonight, because this is where my passion is. Unfortunately, I've been involved in a lot of natural disasters in my life. So started when I was a kid in a city that flooded. In college, when I was working for a bank, we had the Berkeley Oakland Hills fire, and I did all of the insurance, investing and everything for those people. So I've got experience I want to bring to bear to save lives.
Thank you, Pete. That was our last speaker. Robert Srinivasan had to go to another meeting and is driving right now and can't speak. So we will open up public hearing. Any comments from the public in the room? Any remote speakers? So comment, any advocacy from?
I got a question from the newbie. Do we vote for one seat?
So at this point, we'll be naming 3 names, 1 for each seat, seat 5, seat 6, seat 7. Whoever gets the most votes in each of those will be primary, and whoever gets the second.
I got that. We're voting for all the regions and all the.
All regions, yes. So this body appoints seats for every area. Okay. Any other comments?
I want to advocate for Carmen because she was the backup to our Santa Clara representative, Kathy Watanabe. And Kathy mentioned how much Carmen helped her, backed her up, and was always there for her. And in this committee, so I wanted to, as much as I love Murali, who's driving, I guess, but I really think she'd be great to represent at least my city of Santa Clara. So I'm giving a thumbs up to Carmen.
Okay. Any other advocacy? Go ahead. Actually, go ahead, please.
I'm gonna advocate for Tina. First and foremost, I've had the pleasure of seeing her work with a number of people here in this room, through the cities association, also through Silicon Valley Clean Energy. So I know what her, style is, and it's exceptionally collaborative, and there's nothing more important in this situation. I like to say that teamwork makes the dream work, and in this case, it's not a slogan. It's going to save lives, and Tina has not only the understanding of the challenges, but also the personal style to be able to bring people together to overcome some of the cultural differences that I mentioned between the organizations.
Thank you. Rosemary?
Yes, I want to advocate for Carmen. I've known Carmen for more years than we probably want to talk about. But the one thing I know about Carmen is she always does her own homework and she's always present. So you can really, really count on her. And with this position, I think it's so critically important that you're right on. So I know that she's prepared and she will always be there.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Yes, I wanted to advocate for Tina. We're seat 5. I think that it's very important that the folks that we appoint actually represent not just their city or their point of view, but to interact with the cities that they represent. And I have confidence just based on conversations that Tina has initiated that she will interact, not just attend meetings.
Thank you. And I'll just, I'll second that for Tina. So especially, and I look at some of the locations here, EOAC applies to the whole county. But as we see with the fire danger right now, having reps from Saratoga, from Milpitas and Los Altos, which are so adjacent to some of the high fire areas, I do think is important. So with that, may we have, and so people list off 3 names, 1 for seat 5, 1 for seat 6, and 1 for seat 7. May we have a vote?
Gilroy,
Tina, Carmen, and Pete.
thank you. Los Altos,
Tina, Carmen, and Pete.
Cupertino,
Tina, Carmen, and Pete.
San Jose,
Tina, Carmen, and Pete.
Monte Sereno is absent. Los Gatos,
Tina, Carmen, and Pete.
Mountain View,
Tina, Carmen, Chris.
Santa Clara,
Dan, Carmen, and Pete.
Milpitas,
Myself, Carmen, Tina, and Pete.
Tina.
thank you. Morgan Hill,
Tina, Carmen, and Pete.
and Palo Alto,
Tina, Carmen, and Pete.
and Campbell,
Dan, Carmen, and Pete.
Saratoga,
Tina, Carmen, Pete.
Sunnyvale,
Tina, Carmen, Pete.
and Los Altos Hills is absent. For seat 5, we have Tina. For seat 6, we have Carmen. And seat 7, we have Pete.
Okay. And then for the alternates, we have the second place votes for each of those positions when we get around to the final motion. We'll move on to MTC. For a 2-year term, 1 seat. We have 2 letters of interest in your packet. Is there anyone interested? Any nominations from the floor? Seeing none. We'll invite the 2 speakers to come up for 2 minutes to speak. First is Pat Bird.
Well, thank you, everyone, for considering me for this really important position. This appointment has traditionally been primarily the way in which the small cities of the county have a voice on the MTC board. But our cities are often underrepresented on BTA and MTC. I have years of commitment on transit issues. I've been for the last 4 years on the BTA board. My colleagues elected me chair in 2023. The last 2 years on the Caltrain board, but my commitment to transit, transportation, and active transportation goes long before that. I think I have this experience and the skills and the institutional knowledge to represent you. I've led on transit-oriented development, on service expansion, on sustainability, and securing funding, which is going to be a huge deal for us with MTC. Federal dollars and state dollars, many of them flow through MTC. Most of you are probably aware that late last year, we went into a big negotiation at both BTA and Caltrain with MTC over their intention to have both a regional measure and a forced consolidation of agencies. And we pushed back. We're really looking at the prospect of having a county measure and support for Caltrain rather than one single regional measure, but we'll see what happens. Our concern was that BTA in our county have not traditionally received the fair share of the proportion of the population that we have and the proportion of the funding that we put in to MTC. And we have real needs. We need to restore the bus programs that were cut 20 plus years ago.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Pamela?
Good evening, members of the selection committee. I am Pamela Campos, and I'm here to make sure every city in Santa Clara County has a voice at MTC. Not just the largest, not just the most powerful, but all of us. This seat is about fighting for real representation. Transportation decisions shape our communities for generations. And we need leadership that isn't controlled by one interest, one city, or one political force. Cities like Cupertino, Santa Clara, and Sunnyvale are subsidizing their public transit with local dollars. Saratoga and Los Gatos lack the transit infrastructure to ensure safety from wildfires and natural disasters. And at a time of financial insecurity, we must address the infrastructure impacts created by the builder's remedy applications. For too long, mid-size and smaller cities have struggled to get their fair share. The time for change is now. I've already worked with MTC as chair of the Policy Advisory Council. I know how funding decisions are made, and I know how to fight for local communities. I have the experience, the track record, and the energy to get it done for all of our cities, and I've already been doing this work. MTC must reflect the people it serves. It's time for bold, fresh leadership who will work for the people who rely on transit every single day. Leadership takes courage. The decisions that we make today will define the next generation, not just in transportation, but in housing, opportunity, and economic justice. I am ready to fight for every city in Santa Clara County. This is our moment to build a future that works for everyone. And the question isn't whether I'm ready for this role. The question is, are we ready to meet this moment with bold leadership? Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for each of either of the applicants?
I have a general question.
Sure.
What, of the MTC membership now, who's on it from Santa Clara County? Who represents
Right now, it's Pat, Margaret, and Matt.
Matt? So no Margaret.
Well,
Margaret.
no, I'm sorry. It's Margaret for the county and Matt Mahan for the city.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay,
And this spot is obviously.
Right.
thank you.
Yeah. Yes.
We can ask some individual questions?
Yes,
Is that what
if you keep it short, absolutely. But if you're going to ask a question, definitely ask it to both.
Sure, same question for both of them. So City of Gilroy, the southernmost point in Santa Clara County. And I would just like to know a little more specifically, what they are gonna do for the City of Gilroy.
Okay. If either of you can, so I guess both of you come up or just speak from the floor. I'm assuming we can hear.
I'm very happy to answer that question, Mayor Bozo. I have family who lives in Gilroy, and I understand the lack of public transit infrastructure that is not allowing the community of Gilroy to have the economic mobility that they deserve. I am looking forward to working on helping get Caltrain all the way down to Gilroy so that we can have more frequent service. I know the electrification stopped at Union Station. So I plan to work diligently on making sure that the battery operated trains are working on time to deliver the results that we need for South County. And ensuring that where we have opportunities to increase VTA service, that we're doing so, because that is a huge bottleneck in our community. And it's something that I'm personally impacted by and willing and ready to work on behalf of your city, South County. Thank you for the question.
I too have Gilroy roots. My first hometown was Gilroy. And I'm from the work on both BTA and Caltrain board. We've really been committed, especially on Caltrain, to expanding that service. As you know, that we expanded the train service, and now we have first in the country battery electric trains on order, and that will be serving electric trains down to Gilroy. They charge on the regular catenary system up here, and then they run on batteries down there. And then the intention is to expand service even to Salinas. And that's a big part of what we've been focusing on Caltrain. And on top of that, the bus service needed is not only in Gilroy, but all of the lesser cities of the county. And this is what I was alluding to. The county cut bus service 20 plus years ago. And this is what we need to restore. It's what we've been arguing to MTC is our fair share needs to go to restoring those services. We don't have a structural fiscal cliff like some of the other agencies because we made the difficult decisions, or the BTA made difficult decisions 20 plus years ago. But our fair share goes to restoring those bus services.
Any other quick questions?
Very quick question. Correct me if I'm wrong, 18 seats on MTC, only 3 from our county. And City of Saratoga, again, Western Foothills concerns, no great transit coming there. How would either of you support? What's a good solution? Very good.
1 minute.
I think that what we need to be looking at BTA is smaller buses to the outlying routes that are not the high travel and high boarding routes. We have a lot of BTA buses that are a fraction full, and we're operating big expensive buses. So being able to have smaller buses and cut the costs of operating them lets us expand that service into the other areas. I think that's the future.
Thank you for the question. I know that MTC has only 5 community-based transportation plans for the county of Santa Clara. Saratoga is not one of those. And so ensuring that every city that does not actively have a CBT plan in place is going to be essential to ensuring that we can secure funding for those cities. So that would be my first place to start.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you. Did public comment? Oh, anyone in the room?
Actually, I do have one.
Sure.
So, you know, there's been a pattern that we have not had our students take our BTA buses. So, and you know, I've been trying to push for that. So what would you do to, how would you approach Metropolitan Transportation Commission to push for that?
Well, I think a program like we've done at Caltrain, which is a $1 ride per youth, that we just implemented this last year, and I was a big supporter of, is the sort of thing we need to do. Frankly, at BTA, I've been pushing very hard for transit passes for all low-income residents in transit-oriented development. And it doesn't cost us much at all to have transit passes. And so having a similar program for youth, once people have a pass, they use the transit. It's not costing BTA much. because we have a low fare box recovery as it is, so we don't lose much revenue. So having those kinds of programs and pushing that through MTC on a more system-wide approach is what I think would really help.
It conditions students, it reduces congestion.
So
And-
let they've answered, so go ahead.
Thank you. That is an incredibly important question and something that I'm very passionate about because like I mentioned about thinking of our youth and the next generation, this is really how we lead for the future. Ensuring that youth have access to affordable public transit, especially when they're not earning an income right now. So looking at securing funding to ensure that we can provide a pilot program that ensures high school aged youth can become lifelong public transit riders. But the key to get them on board is public safety. I was at a youth commission meeting where that was the #1 reason why our youth aren't riding public transit. And so we need to look at all of the areas of improvement to ensure that everyone feels safe riding public transit because we can spend all the money on infrastructure and service. But if people aren't riding because they don't feel safe, then we're fighting a losing battle. I also lead by example and I ride public transit. So I want to make sure that we are bringing youth on board and exploring the region of public transit. Thank you.
Any other questions? Any member of the public wishing to speak? Anyone remote? Close public comment? Any final advocacy?
Yeah, I'll, as you want to go. I'd like to say a few words on behalf of Pat and just share my perspective. I took over late last year as chair of ETA from Cindy Chavez. And well before that, going back a year before then, Pat I benefit from Pat's mentorship and guidance, given his past experience on the board chair. Us as small cities, I'm from Campbell, whether it's at the county level or with MTC in our county at the regional level, we often don't get our fair share. So I can back up that he'll be there advocating for our share. And then what a lot of people don't know is that MTC also serves as ex officio on the BTA board of directors. So that's how Margaret Abakoga has actually, she was previous MTC rep, and before she was elected to the county, was serving on BTA. And so selfishly myself as chair, but just to keep the agency going, but also on behalf of our residents for things like BART, Caltrain, there's incredibly complex issues where we just really need that continuity of leadership, having lost folks like Cindy Chavez and others. And he's one of the ones who was there when those many of those discussions originally took place. I'm thrilled that Pamela is going for this seat. I know she'd be ready and she brings a lot of experience. So I look forward to working with whoever's selected.
Thank you.
Sergio, with his face-to-face experience with Pat Bird, said it better than I'm going to. But I wanted to point out that this is not just a trivial thing that Pat wants to do. He's obsessed with transportation. He's a beast with transportation. He's our go-to guy in Palo Alto about that. And some of us wish that he would stay on council and also take over the chief transportation officer role, which is now open. His knowledge set obviously goes back in history, so it's historical, but it's also current. And with that, he couples, we got to get out in front of our needs and in front of our technologies. And we got to go where, the puck is going, as they say. So that combination of ingredients, I think, is just fantastic. And the word that I was going to emphasize, you just said, which is, you all know, transportation is complex, but he gets the complexity of financing, technology, of politics, and how that all works. So I think he's our guy. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. So I'd like to speak on behalf of my support for Pamela. I think that what's been really great is she's already has experience on the MTC policy committee. She was there for 3 years. She's working with MTC staff, and while I understand that there's significance in working with ETA, I think there's also something to be said about somebody who's already working with MTC and with their staff. I also think that she brings a lived experience, as she's saying, she actively firsthand uses the different transit systems with which we have, which having, you know, myself lived in other countries, I didn't have to have the car till I moved back to California. And I really want to be able to go back to relying on transit, and I know she's thinking about it. Think you could talk about, what about the small cities? She's from a large city. I really appreciate that she is actually trying to use public transit to go to all of our different cities and to see what that experience is like. So she has that lived experience. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
Again, being down in South Santa Clara County, two great candidates, but down in South Santa Clara County, I'm gonna go with the person who lives closest to South Santa Clara County, and especially with the amount of which was mentioned, you know, we hear about builder's remedy. It's most all of it's happening down in South Santa Clara County, and it's the topics like that. And because South Santa Clara County has been left out of the conversation too long, then we're not going with town one.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Yes.
Very quick, I just wanted to lend my support to Ms. Compost. I think that she's the first person that I've spoken to who has an understanding of the actual bus service in Los Gatos, and has family members who have taken that bus and seen that we are now down to one bus with half of the coverage that we had. And so while I appreciate the long service, I think that we need some new leadership to have MTC and DTA try to provide some service to places that have not received that service.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Very quick comment. This is a very difficult one. There are two fabulous candidates. I have to think long and hard. And in this case, because of MTC being what it is with 18 board members, I'm going to, in this case, support Councilmember Pat Burt with his long leadership experience. I think Pamela Campos is right there. In a year or two, she'll be able to deliver for Saratoga, and two fabulous persons, very committed. I just have to see where I can get the best support for Saratoga today.
Thank you. Anyone else? So with that, please list one name as your name is called. Sorry. Thank you for being here. We're on the MTC appointment.
Yeah, I apologize. I guess I miscalculated the time.
Okay.
Let's start.
Understood.
Yeah.
So just realize that you'll be, so you'll either say Bert or Campos, or you can abstain since you didn't hear the discussion.
Can I ask a question? Something that.
Very quick.
Yeah,
Or
it may have already been asked. I mean, from Monticello's point of view, the issue really is fire and everything else. And there's a lot of trees on the highway, Saratoga, Sunnyvale. I don't know if the candidates have expressed any position on how aggressive they would be to get those trees.
So it's not tree. So this is MTC transportation.
Okay, so they don't have any control on that. All right, then I think the point. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, can you please conduct the vote?
Yeah. Los Altos,
I hear you. Pat,
and Saratoga,
Bedford,
Monte Sereno,
I'll pass for now.
Campbell,
Bert.
Milpitas,
Pat Hurt.
Cupertino,
Pat Hurt.
Sunnyvale,
Bert,
San Jose,
Pamela Campos,
Gilroy,
Compost.
Mountain View,
Pamela,
Morgan Hill,
Bert,
Los Gatos,
Pamela,
Los Altos Hills is absent, Palo Alto,
Bert,
and Santa Clara.
Difficult decision, but Bert.
So, 9 for Bert, 4 for Campo.
Okay. Thank you, congratulations. Next up is LAFCO. So this is, both seats will be ending until May of 2028, so primary and alternate seat. Right now, the alternate seat is by Mark Turner. We'll go through and what's interesting here, and I'll before I ask people, Bettina, you put in for both seats. Are you specifically for primary and alternate, or?
I had put in for both seats in case the alternate opened up. The more I looked, and that was a few days ago, but the more I looked at it, and especially when I spoke about the emergency operations, I realized there is a lot more to South County and the the West area cities working together. And with LAFCO, I was aware of a lot of builders remedy challenges and adjustment plans around the western foothills around Saratoga. But I also see Morgan Hill and Gilroy having those challenges. I firmly believe in harmony and working together. So with that in mind, I would rather support Mayor Turner and withdraw for both seats.
So you're withdrawing from that. So thank you. So we have any nominations from the floor for LAFCO?
There, I think my colleague is going to also.
Chris? Yeah, understood. So I wanted to clear up alternate for the primary. Tina's removed her name, so I have 3 applicants. Turner.
But I think he's gonna remove.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. Chris, did you have a comment?
Yes, sorry, Mayor. I don't think it made it into the packet, but I plan to or I wish to withdraw from the alternate interest to focus on one of the other committees. If that's okay. Make this easier for everyone.
Thank you, sir. With that, we now have 2 candidates, Turner and Hilton. No,
One for each seat.
one for, well, no, there's a primary and alternate, so we do have to go through voting.
I think Turner only expresses interest in the primary and Hilton expresses interest in the alternate.
Right.
Does that?
Oh, actually, that is true. Thank you for that clarification. And for timeliness, thank you. We will just do a voice vote since there is no contention. All those in, oh, thank you. Is there any member of the public wishing to speak on this item? Is there anyone remote?
No.
Close public comment. We will do a voice vote.
May I just for clarity have a motion and a second that those be appointed to each?
We'll do a motion at the end
I
for all of them, just to speed things
I
along.
see.
Okay,
So what if we want to ask him a question?
you can. There's only one for each seat, so from a timeliness standpoint, I would ask you.
Talking if there's not a reason.
I would ask you to do it outside this meeting, if preferably.
That's in the hall.
And we'll just do a voice vote for those in favor for Turner for primary and Hilton for alternate. Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Those abstaining?
So Clara, I don't have a number in second.
Sorry, that's true. So we didn't have a name vote. We'll do a primary or we'll do a one motion at the end of all this to put everybody in.
I see.
Yeah, we really didn't need a vote, I guess, when it came down to it. Okay, next is ALUC. We have 2 letters of interest, 2 seats. Chris, did you want to say anything?
I know you're running behind, but just so folks know, the seat that I've applied for here was previously held by my former colleague Lisa Matichak for several years, and she's provided a lot of background to me, and I've followed her work on this for several years. So I'm confident that I can take over where she left off.
Thank you. And I forgot to ask, are there any other nominations from the floor? Sorry, Richard. Come on up. Okay, no other nominations from the floor. Richard?
Good evening, honorable selection committee members. My name is Richard Mellinger. I have the honor to represent Sunnyvale City Council District 5. I'm applying for the Airport Land Use Commission because of a longstanding interest in land use issues. My proximity, I live directly in the Moffett Field flight path, which you can hear very clearly from my house when they're training. And also because of the extreme importance of this commission to the region. Sunnyvale in particular has recently zoned 20,000 additional homes in the Moffett Park area at high density. And so that is going to bring issues that, we're going to need to be working with the Airport Land Use Commission on. And so I respectfully request the committee's aye vote. I am applying for seat 7, formerly held by my former colleague, Russ Melton. Thank you very much for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Any questions to the applicants? Seeing none, since we only have 2 applicants, 1 for each seat, we don't need a vote. That only makes sense. We will continue on to our next item. Our next item is Measure A. This is one that I've applied for. Are there any nominations from the floor? Any interest from Measure A oversight? None. I'll open up public comment. Close public comment. Thank you. I've been serving on this for the last 2 years. The money has mainly been distributed at this point. That being said, there are multiple housing projects that are going to reach the end of their term over the next few years. And so it'll be reallocating some of the funding that wasn't spent previously, but definitely the majority of that 950 million has been spent at this point. Thank you. I will move on to RWRC. We actually have 3 area seats, Central. All right. Yeah. Central, South, and a large seat as listed below. We had letters of interest from Dan Furtado, Darren Hardy, and Murli Srinivasan. Is there any nominations from the floor? And I'm trying to remember from a primary and alternate.
So the primary is now an alternate.
Oh, that's right. Thank you. Can you clarify what this was? We're on G. We're on G. RWRC, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's fine.
Did we skip?
So we have,
RWRC?
We're doing
our WRC.
Oh.
And there's 3 seats, Central, South, and a member at large seat that can't be represented by a city that already has someone on that board. So conceivably, from a central standpoint, so we really need to appoint the Central and South first, and then we can take a member at large seat. But first I wanted to see nominations. Are there any nominations in the room?
Or just for the Central?
Or any of them right now, because I want to see, okay. Hello.
I know, it's just an easy
Yes, fine.
change up. I would love to nominate Chris Clark for the at-large seat.
Sorry, so Chris, wait. So Chris is you have interest in the Recycling Waste Commission seat, Chris?
I do. That was what I mentioned earlier, which Brian from LAFCO to focus on. But you cut out, Mayor. Sorry. Were there? I didn't see in the packet any other letters of interest, but it sounds like maybe there were some received subsequently.
So we did. So from an appointment standpoint, it's appointing to the first 2. Sorry. Let me make sure I get this right. We're appointing, shall we? So just double check. Central, South, we need to appoint 1 for each of these.
Correct. So we need to do Central and South first, but there have been no nominations for anyone on Central and South.
Yeah.
That letters that I received.
Okay.
I see a nomination.
But Central, we do have Karen Hardy for Santa Clara.
No, she's not.
Oh,
That's.
I'm sorry, thank you, sorry,
Yeah, the next one.
I messed my paging up. Thank you. Sorry about that, everyone. That explains what the issues are. Okay, so,
So we can switch the first two, just go to number.
but the first two do need appointees, correct?
They do, but nobody.
Okay, so for the members from Milpitas, Santa Clara, Gilroy, and Morgan Hill, are you interested
No.
in,
Who's serving on it now? We know who's on it,
Yeah.
representing our areas now.
so Milpitas, so,
We'll nominate them again.
It was Mayor Montano from Milpitas, but she resigned.
Oh, it's Carmen.
yes, so you have
Go
these,
back to our councils with this, if you don't.
it'll come back at a later date. Okay, so we will just move to the at-large position, of which Chris is the interested party, correct?
That's right.
That's fine.
Yes, yes.
Okay. And since you're the only position, the only interested party for the at-large position, correct? That is correct, right? Yes, thank you. I misformatted my script. Then we don't need a vote. Thank you, Chris, for your interest. And we will move on to SVRIA. We have a primary and an alternate seat. Letters of interest from Dan Furtado, Karen Hardy, and Murali Srinivasan. Are there any other nominations from the floor? Sure.
I have a question,
Yes.
because we have a Santa Clara person in here, but it says the only cities available for the seat are Campbell, Cupertino, Los Altos,
Yes.
Los Gatos, and Mountain View.
How
does that work?
I can explain because, Councilmember Hardy already has a seat, and if she wins this seat, then she'll resign from the other seat.
Okay, so she doesn't have to resign first? She can,
I'm the executive director, that's what I understood from the
Okay.
conversation.
It's what happened in the past when Russ Melton was the selected from one of the cities, and then he was appointed by this body and resigned from that seat. But there's also an alternate, right? I thought that there was an alternate in the seat. Our council member from, aren't you in the alternate seat right now?
Oh, yes, so sorry, Mayor Hudes is the alternate, and he filled in for, West London,
Okay.
but he doesn't automatically take over the primary seat.
Okay.
But
But
he stays in the alternate seat.
The alternate is appointed by us or is appointed by the primary? You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think it's, I can look it up in the Bible, but I think it's the primary.
He serves in the city seat. He serves.
So, sorry to clarify.
I should explain Danny's legal counsel friends.
She resigned that seat.
Yeah.
That's true, yeah.
Yes.
City selection.
So from a process standpoint, Jenny, maybe you can know. So we take all three of these for primary. If Karen would win, then she would automatically remove herself from representing Santa Clara.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay,
I have a question.
yes,
Srinivasan is from Sunnyvale.
yes.
That's not one of the listed cities.
So I think that's incorrectly listed. So Sunnyvale,
So they had a meeting on January 23rd, and I believe several seats got appointed then. But I did ask the executive director, so what seats are available now? And so,
but Sunnyvale doesn't have a position on there now.
correct.
So it could be appointed. Correct, okay, and that's, so this is incorrect. Sunnyvale should be allowed, although he's not here to speak for himself. Okay. Any other nominations? We'll go through letters. Dan Furtado. Okay, Karen?
Yes, my turn.
Yes, 2 minutes.
Thank you. Karen Hardy, City of Santa Clara. I will explain. When Russ Milton was put for the Cities Association, I was the alternate through the 3 cities, Milpitas, Sunnyvale, and Santa Clara, and I stepped in. I have been serving on this and I've been the vice chair. At the meeting we just had last week, I was made chair, but I also was told by my 3 mayors, Milpitas, Sunnyvale, and Santa Clara, that my tenure would close and finish in July of this year, 2025. My concern is this next year, 2026, Santa Clara will be hosting both the Super Bowl and FIFA, six of the matches. And this SVRIA came out of the concerns from 9/11, that there was not the communication and the coordination that needed to happen. And I want very strongly for Santa Clara to be, for someone from Santa Clara, which I guess would be me at this point, to have a seat on the SVRA as we go through and do all the planning for these very major events. The reality is it's going to affect all the cities, and I want it to be safe. On top of that, I am a ham radio operator, and I feel very strongly about making certain, because most of the information that comes out of a situation at the beginning is not good. And we need to make certain we do our very best. And that's what I want to do. I've talked with Mayor of Los Gatos, Matthew Hudis, and he is the alternate. And he thought about it and felt like Santa Clara, someone from Santa Clara should be on this while we have these large events that will affect everyone. So I would like to represent the entire cities association. And I would do that just through the time that we are working on FIFA and have these large events. And then I will be termed out of my seat on city council. And we do already have someone from Milpitas that is my alternate from Santa Clara. And just like when I stepped up, when Russ was put as your appointment. Thank you.
And so just to clarify, from your city rotation seat, your primary, who's your alternate?
My alternate right now is Milpitas, a council member from Milpitas.
Okay, but it's Milpitas, it's Milpitas, Santa Clara, Sunnyvale.
Yes.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
And Murley, of course, is in his meeting at this point. So it's reached his, it's an online, correct? No.
Correct.
Okay. And I will, speak for Murley. Conceivably, he is an alternate in these 3 cities after Karen resigns from primary for the 3 cities. So that makes sense. With that, we have 1 speaker, no other speakers. Any questions? Yes.
Question. I'm currently the alternate for this seat. And with that, it says alternate available only if current alternate is appointed to primary. Could you clarify that? Would I continue to be alternate?
Yes. Unless somebody else, unless you.
Since you're not applying for primary.
Correct.
Correct. So you remain alternate.
Okay.
You remain alternate. Yes. Thank you.
I have one other clarification.
Yes.
When Councilmember Hardy said Milpitas is the alternate through the city rotation, I get that. Can I have a name, please, if we know that? Right?
Do you know who your alternate is, Karen?
I do not have the list in front of me. I apologize. That was given to me. Eric Nichols told me it took him over a year to get Milpitas to give them a name.
It was Gary Barbadillo.
That sounds right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. And I think what the executive director said was, And I thought what you said was Sunnyvale was about to rotate in June, but I don't know what that rotation is. Okay. Anyway. Any other comments?
Yeah, advocacy.
Did I do public comment? I can't remember.
No, but there's no public comment.
No public comment in the room, no public comment remote, we'll close public comment. Advocacy?
I'd like to advocate for Karen Hardy. I think having a continuous of her experience on the committee. And because of all the big events we're having in Santa Clara, I think it's really important. And I don't know anybody else that can run a ham radio, so I think she's got it over everyone. So I would like to see her, I think she'd be a great representative.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Yes, I had a long conversation with Karen about this, and I felt it was best for me not to pursue the primary seat because of the circumstance that in that case, Santa Clara would not be represented on the board. I think it's really critical. One of the things that I've advocated for as an alternate is for that organization to do drills as we do in ham radio and insert in preparation, not just to look back on prior experience, but to actually do a drill. And I think Karen understands and appreciates that, and I very much support her for that position.
Thank you. Any other advocacy?
I would say yes to Karen as well.
Sorry.
I'm
So-
thankful-
sorry.
Oh, sorry.
No members of the pub, we already
Oh,
did.
sorry, did you guys? I'm so sorry. That was-
Public from the board.
I was out.
Yes.
I'd also like to advocate for Karen. You know, I just got on this board and I'm just delighted that she has the depth of experience to be able to move this forward.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I'll say a quick word on Karen's behalf. I've had the pleasure of working with her on the Water Commission, and this year she and I are co-chair and chair, and I've observed her always to be up to speed on the homework and the issues. And that's not always the case in these outside boards, and I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Sorry, I have just a little clarifying information from the executive director. He said, if Karen Hardy is the city's association's appointment, Sunnyvale will move into the alternate for the SBRI shared seat.
Okay.
So Merle could be appointed as the SBRI central city seat alternate by Sunnyvale City.
But that's
for 6G.
not,
That's right.
that's separate. That's separate.
Oh, that's
That's
separate,
from that,
okay.
that's from their board.
Okay.
Okay. So we have 3 candidates for Tato, Hardy, Srinivasan. Do we have the vote?
Yes. Gilroy?
Hardy.
Thank you, Milpitas.
Hardy.
Los Gatos,
Hardy?
San Jose,
Hardy.
Palo Alto,
Hardy?
Cupertino,
Hardy.
Morgan Hill,
Hardy.
Campbell,
Hurtado.
Los Altos Hills is absent. Monte Sereno,
Hardy?
Mountain View,
Hardy?
Saratoga,
Karen Hardy.
Santa Clara,
Hardy.
Los Altos,
Karen Hardy?
and Sunnyvale.
Karen Hardy.
So that is Hardy with 13, Furtado with 1.
Thank you. So I think we have rapidly moved through this. Thank you, everyone. We do need a motion. And I will leave it to the clerk to basically say the motion I'm looking for basically is to reaffirm the appointees that we've already voted on, and I'll leave it to you to fill in afterwards. Is that good enough, city clerk? Sorry.
Yeah, I can just read a summary of what we got to today and
Okay.
then we can have that be the motion to confirm.
Sure.
Um, Okay. For item 5A, Sergio Lopez to seat 1, Vicky Banker to seat 2. For 5B, Carmen Montano to seat 6, Murali Srinivasan to seat 6 alternate. Oh, sorry, I skipped seat 5. So for 5B, Tina Walia to seat 5, Dan Furtado is seat 5 alternate. Carmen Montano to seat 6, Murali Srinivasan to seat 6 alternate. Pete Daly to seat 7, Chris Clark to seat 7 alternate. 5C, Pat Burt appointed to MTC. 5D, Mark Turner appointed to the primary seat, Zach Hilton appointed to the alternate seat. 5E, Chris Clark appointed to seat 6, Richard Mellinger for seat 7. 5F, Larry Klein continuing to serve in the Measure A 2016 housing bond. 5G, the Central County seat is deferred. The South County City seat is deferred. And Chris Clark is appointed to the member at large seat. 5H, Karen Hardy appointed to the primary seat. No changes to the alternate seat.
Thank you. Thank you very much for keeping track. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
That was Turner, Anna,
Morgan.
Morgan Hill, San Jose. Would you like to call an aye nay vote?
I'll just do a voice vote. All those in favor? Those opposed? Those abstaining? Thank you all for doing this. Probably see you in a few months, but for now, thank you for working through this rapidly and we'll take a 5-minute break, 6-minute break until our next meeting, 7:05 for those that are staying around. Thank you all.
And there's pizza in the back.
And there's pizza in the back. Enjoy.